The story today from our Nala Ayed.
We consulted with a number of weapons experts, both in Canada and internationally, and this includes independent ones who are consultants who get paid for their job and others who are attached to organizations like Amnesty International. And there seemed to be agreement that what you're seeing in that main photo, I think that you're looking at right now, is what's called an LRT-3. It's a Canadian-made sniper rifle, 50 caliber, that has a range of more than 2 kilometers in the right hands. And reports on the ground indicate that the weapons, that and others, were seized from Saudi forces at the border with Yemen, and that it may have happened more than once. And the organization that first brought this to our attention agrees that that's the most likely mode that those weapons were diverted, that they were legally exported to Saudi Arabia and then made their way from there. Here's a little bit of what the director of that organization had to say.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of different paths the weapon could have followed, but for us the most likely is that it was captured from Saudi army forces, Saudi land forces, and probably seized alongside some of the other rifles we saw in that same imagery.
Extraordinary investigation there, Nala. Now, we've mentioned off the top the controversy. There's been so much debate recently here over the sale of those light armored vehicles to the Saudis. Could they be used to quell dissent? Could they be used against Saudi citizens themselves, among other things? In your case, in what you've investigated, what is the concern there?
There are a few, Heather. One is that Houthi fighters are actually under a UN arms embargo. Also, these are weapons that are likely to be used in this conflict in Yemen that we don't hear a lot about, that has killed nearly 3,000 civilians, displaced many hundreds thousands of people, and is bringing the country sort of to a near famine. But it also highlights the risks of exporting weapons into what is an increasingly volatile region, and raises concerns about whether the countries buying Canadian weapons can actually ensure that they won't fall into the wrong hands. We spoke to Ken Epps of Project Plowshares, and here's a little bit of what he had to say about this.
I think there is an obligation on the part of the Canadian government, once they authorize arms transfers, to make sure that they don't get diverted into the wrong hands.
Now, the government says that it has no information about Canadian weapons ending up in Yemen, that if it did learn that any controlled goods had fallen into the wrong hands, that, quote, we do work with exporters to ensure that appropriate measures are immediately taken to prevent a recurrence. One other thing I should tell you, Heather, is that we tried to get comment from the company. They declined an interview that makes these weapons in Winnipeg, but they did say that all of their exports do follow Canadian guidelines and that they are legal.